Hey guys, what's up and welcome to my channel. My name is Miley. If you are new here, I do a new DIY video every single week. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, you know what to do with that information. So since the 4th of July is quickly approaching, I thought it would be fun to make like a DIY lawn game. And for a while now, I've been wanting to make a custom cornhole board. Because where I'm from, cornhole is a big deal. We take our cornhole very seriously. It's so serious that my uncle even has a cornhole league every Thursday night at his house. Roll the footage, editor. I'm the editor. Okay, I'm gonna play the tape now. See? We take our cornhole very seriously in the great state of Wisconsin. So without further ado, I'm gonna get started making these custom cornhole boards. Welcome to my outdoor wood shop. Okay, so to get started on this cornhole board, I looked up the requirements needed to build this cornhole board to the American Cornhole Association professional standards. You could build a cornhole board to be whatever size and shape you want it to be. If you want your cornhole board to be in the shape of a heart, go for it. However, I'd like to build mine to the professional standards because if this whole YouTube thing doesn't work out, I like the idea of falling back on becoming a professional cornhole player. And if I want to be a professional, I'm gonna need professional boards to practice on. Okay, so this website says that the American Cornhole Association requirements for the platform of your cornhole board need to be 48 inches by 24 inches, so 2 feet by 4 feet, and then made out of ½ inch thick piece of plywood, which, lucky for me, Home Depot already had pre-cut boards to that size. So the only thing I have to do to the plywood that I got is put a 6-inch hole in them, and the center of the hole has to be 9 inches down from the top and 12 inches in from the side. So to make that hole, I went and got oh, that scared me! I went and got a hole saw. So I've never actually used this thing. So I have this scrap piece of plywood in front of me that I'm gonna practice making some holes first, and then I'm gonna move on to making holes in the plywood that I got for the cornhole boards. Let's get started! So I'm definitely glad I practiced using this hole saw before jumping right into the actual plywood I'm going to be using for these cornhole boards. Finding the right pressure was key to using this thing. If I pressed too hard, the blade would get stuck and it wouldn't cut, and this would happen. And that did not feel very good. So I learned pretty quickly using this thing that the best way to use this is have a very firm grip on the drill, but actually press really lightly down on the drill. It's still gonna cut, but it's gonna go a lot slower and you're gonna get a more precise cut hole. And I also needed to practice making an X and making sure that X was directly in the middle of my cut, since I needed the middle of this hole to be exactly 9 inches down from the top and 12 inches in from the side. And after making 3 holes, I pretty much had the hang of this, and now was the moment of truth.
Do this! I can do this! I can do this!
Okay, so now I have holes in my plywood. The second one definitely turned out better than the first one, but that happens like every time. So next up, I have to build the frame and put this all together. The frame should be super easy. I'm gonna be using pocket holes to attach everything together, and I'm gonna be leaving the legs off until the very end so that when I stain and paint this thing, I can lay it flat on the ground. So let's get started building this frame. To make this frame, I got 3 1x4s at 8 feet long, and 2 of the boards I cut in half, and then the third one I cut into into 4 pieces at 22.5 inches. And then came the great pocket hole making of 2021. I had to make so many pocket holes. I had to make 2 pocket holes at each end of the 22.5 inch long pieces, and then make a bunch of pocket holes going up so that I could use those pocket holes to attach the top to the frame. And once all the pocket holes were done, I took 2 of the 4 feet long boards and 2 of the 22.5 inch long boards and screwed them all together. And once they were all screwed together, I took one of the platforms and screwed the frame to the platform. And the only thing left to do was to sand down each one of these boards and stain them before I got to move on to my favorite part. Okay guys, it has now been a few hours since I stained each one of my cornhole boards, and they are now dry, which means I can get to my favorite part, painting. And a while back, my husband Jordan picked out these cornhole bags. So since he decided to go for the American flag themed cornhole bags, I'm gonna stick with that same theme, and I'm going to be painting some American themed art on each one of these boards. And we are kind of nearing the end of the day, so I'm gonna spend the rest of the day sketching out my designs, maybe getting to primer, and then waking up tomorrow and starting first thing in the morning painting all my designs. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. So for this art, I didn't want to cover the whole top of the board. I've always loved the combo of wood and paint together. However, this does make it a bit more challenging. If I were to cover the whole top of the board, I could have just primed the whole top and then let that dry and drew my sketch out. But in this case, I had to first sketch out my whole design, get the shape just right, and then prime the area. And if you get the shape wrong from the start, there's really not much you can do to fix it once you've put all the primer down. And after sketching out each one of my designs, I realized I had to prime them so that I could let the boards sit overnight. Okay guys, both of my cornhole boards sat overnight, which means the primed areas are nice and dry, so I can go in and actually sketch out a more thorough design and then get to painting. And I'm hoping to knock both of these out today, even though they're really big paintings, so I'm gonna stop wasting time and start painting. So you might be able to tell what I'm painting by these primed blobs. Oh, also you probably saw the thumbnail if you clicked on this video. So you already know I decided to paint 2 pretty stereotypical USA things. The American flag and the bald eagle. And I'm actually glad Jordan picked out some themed bags, because if he didn't, I probably would have had a hard time picking out what I wanted to paint on these boards. And I had to paint these boards. Cornhole boards are basically giant wood canvases with a hole in them, so they are just screaming to get painted. And instead of going for a really in-your-face red, white, and blue, I was influenced by the distressed look of the cornhole bags, so I decided to go for a similar look. Instead of using white, I did a tan color, and then I mixed black in both my blue and red to make a navy blue and a maroon. And anytime I get the chance to paint something I wouldn't typically paint, I like to take the opportunity and try out a different style of art. And for some reason, anytime I think of Americana themed art, I think of the tattoo style, American traditional. And if you're not well versed in tattoo styles and have an obsession with tattoos and also follow like 100 tattoo artists on Instagram like I do, American traditional is a style of tattoos that has a really bold black outline, and I think they use a limited color palette of red, blue, yellow, and green, and has limited shading. But this is me pulling random knowledge I remember from years of watching Ink Master, so this information could be wrong, but I do feel like it's correct, because I used to want to be a tattoo artist, so I used to watch Ink Master all the time and research about different tattoo styles. But now becoming a tattoo artist is plan C, because, you know, we have YouTube, plan A, plan B, professional cornhole player, and then if that doesn't work out, plan C, tattoo artist. You know, you gotta keep your options open. So, you know, if you don't hear from me one day randomly, you know the American Cornhole Association came and swept me away.
So, now that you guys know my lifelong plans, let's get back to me painting something. So yeah, I did pull inspiration from the American traditional tattoo style, but I did change it up a bit. Had I stuck strictly with that style, I would have had to do a brighter red and a brighter blue. So switching to the more vintage style color palette definitely deviated from the American traditional style, but I'm so happy I went with the vintage distressed look because I just like that look so much more. And the hardest part with this first painting I definitely saved for last, and that was painting all of the stars and getting them evenly spaced out. But lucky for me, Bonnie was there, and she's actually surprisingly really good at telling if something is evenly spaced out. And then I finished up this first painting by going over and touching up some of the black outlines and signing it to finish off this first cornhole board. And moving right on to my next painting, I definitely struggled with this eagle a bit more than the flag, and I think that's because I don't really paint a whole lot of flags, so it was easy to do a different style of art. But I do paint and draw animals quite a bit, so it was harder to break out of my typical style of painting animals. And to help me, I used quite a bit of American traditional eagle tattoos to help me know what details to put in and what details to leave out. Also, sticking to the same red, white, and blue color scheme, I had to figure out where I wanted to put each color and figure out how I was going to transform the American flag into an eagle. So I made the wings the striped part of the flag, and then the body was the blue star part, and then I kind of just filled in the gaps for the rest. And after I got down the first layer of paint and outlined everything in black, I stuck to the same shading I did with the flag, and I'm pretty pleased with how the wings turned out, but the body, on the other hand, was definitely not my best work. One, I think capturing the pose with this color scheme was kind of hard, and I also don't think I had the shape of the body right from the start. And like I said, once I lay the primer down, it's kind of hard to go back and fix it. So I kind of just had to stick with the body I had. And don't even get me started on these upside down palm trees. These talons look so bad. I think I need some inspiration.
Excuse me, can I take a look at your talons for inspiration? Okay, yes, I see.
I am super lucky to have all my animal friends be such big helpers with my art. Like the flag, I saved the hard part for last, and this time it was not the stars, the eagle's face. All of the American traditional tattoos, all of the eagles look really angry, and I wanted my eagle to be a happy eagle. And at some point I realized the beak was all wrong. I put a toucan beak on this eagle. How embarrassing. So I quickly fixed the shape of the beak and put a happy little smile on this eagle before going through and touching up all of the black outlines and then signing the second cornhole board to finish it up. And the last thing I had to do before putting the legs on these cornhole boards, I got some polyacrylic and did several layers to protect the wood and the painting and to seal this all up and weatherproof it. And to make sure these cornhole boards meet the American Cornhole Association standards, the back of the board has to be lifted up 12 inches off the ground. So I took a 1x4 and cut it into 4 pieces at 11.5 inches, so the back of the board is raised up 12 inches. And here is the cornhole boards all complete. I'm really happy with how they turned out. There's definitely some flaws in them, but overall I'm really pleased. I love the set together, and with the matching cornhole bags, it's just so fun. I also like that I did something different. At one point I was gonna do just 2 American flags, but I really like the eagle, even if it didn't turn out the best. And now all that is left to do is practice for my future as a professional cornhole player. I will see you guys next week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys!